Friend, today I want to talk about something that transforms our journey, the grace of God. This invisible strength sustains us when we have nothing left to give, when we feel empty, tired, and ready to give up. How many times have you found yourself trying to hold everything together on your own, trying to carry something that your heart can no longer bear? It is in that very moment, when we realize our strength is not enough, that the grace of the Lord begins to act in all its fullness. Imagine a delicate clay jar carrying water. On its own, this jar is fragile. It can crack, it can break at any moment under pressure. But what if that jar is held by strong, mighty hands that support it and prevent it from shattering? That is exactly how God's grace works in our lives. It doesn't necessarily eliminate difficulties, but it holds the jar. It holds you, keeping you from completely breaking. This grace isn't just a soft comfort or a beautiful word. It is the strength that lifts us when we think we're about to fall, that gives us hope when everything seems to fall apart. The Bible reminds us of this in a deep and transformative way, especially in Paul's letter to the Corinthians. He writes that God's power is made perfect in our weakness. It may sound paradoxical, but it is precisely when we acknowledge our limitations that we become most open to divine strength. Paul, even with his own pain and struggles, chose to rejoice in his weakness because he knew that was where Christ's power rested on him. And here's the good news for you today. No matter how heavy your burden is, God's grace is more than enough for you. How many times have we tried to be strong on our own? How often do we refuse to show our weakness, afraid of being judged or out of pride? But that only wears us out faster. God, however, doesn't expect us to be perfect. He's not calling us to rely on our own strength to the point of exhaustion, but to a strength that is born from surrender, acknowledging that we need Him. Grace comes exactly when our strength runs out, and that's when true transformation begins. I want you to remember this today. You are not alone, even if it feels like you are. The pressures of life, the struggles, the pain, all of it is fertile ground for the grace of God to manifest in extraordinary ways. When you feel too small, incapable, limited by your own weaknesses, know that it is in that very place that God wants to act with power. He doesn't look at what you are, but at what you can become through obedience and faith. Just like a man named Gideon, who felt small and unprepared but was called by God for a great mission, you too can be sustained and empowered to fulfill the purpose God has for your life. Gideon could have given up. He could have looked at his weaknesses and doubts and chosen not to go forward. But grace doesn't choose us based on our abilities. It chooses us based on our willingness to obey. God saw something in him that he couldn't yet see: potential, strength, and a calling. And that's how God is dealing with you today. He's not waiting for you to be perfect to act. He wants you to be willing. When weakness meets divine calling, a powerful transformation happens. A surrender that allows the glory of God to manifest in the midst of our limitations. Now reflect with me. What burdens have you been trying to carry alone? When did you realize that your strength wasn't enough? That is the place where God wants to meet you. That is where He brings His grace, His strength that never fails, that never runs out. Grace is never late. It comes at the right time, the exact moment, when everything seems lost. Embrace this truth. Your weakness is the perfect space for God's strength to be revealed. And when you stop fighting alone, when you stop trying to control everything, you make room for the supernatural to act. God doesn't want you to carry the weight of the world. He wants you to hand it all over to Him and allow grace to manifest in your life. For today, I want to leave you with this message. Don't chase strength, chase grace. Because grace is more than enough. It is greater than any challenge you face. God is holding you, even when you don't feel it, even when you don't see it. He is steady, holding your heart, giving meaning to what once felt hopeless. I invite you to meditate on these words, and if you'd like, tell me, are you ready to take that step of surrender and let God's grace transform your life? Can I continue with the next part, now that you're feeling that strength born from surrender and the recognition of our fragility? Let's go deeper into the renewing power that God's grace brings to the mind and heart. It's something subtle, yet transformative, that starts from the inside out. And when it happens, it completely changes how we see life, others, and even ourselves. Many times the hardest battle isn't out there, it's inside us. The mind is a battlefield where negative thoughts, doubts, and fears try to take control. That's why God's grace also works in our thinking. It doesn't just strengthen the body and spirit, it renews the way we think. In moments of anguish, when fear tries to take over, it's grace that gives us clarity to see beyond what's happening. It's grace that helps us look at situations with hope, with faith, and with the certainty that something greater is at work. A man named Job teaches us a lot about this inner renewal. He went through unimaginable losses, deep pain, and injustices, but he never lost his faith. Not because he was stronger than others, but because he clung to the grace of God, which sustained his heart and mind, renewing his hope even in the midst of the storm. And that same grace is available to you right now. It's what transforms despair into peace, doubt into certainty, and fear into courage. Have you noticed how our thoughts can trap us? How hopelessness or excessive worry can paralyze us? That's where grace comes in, like a gentle yet steady wind clearing the mind, bringing light to our understanding. When we open our hearts to grace, we begin to realize that we don't have to carry every burden alone. We don't have to solve everything by ourselves. There is a greater power walking beside us. But this renewal doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, one that requires daily surrender, prayer, and a sincere willingness to let God work. Every morning, when you wake up and choose to surrender your thoughts, emotions, and challenges to God, you are making space for grace to completely transform you. It's as if the old self, full of doubts and fears, is being replaced by someone new, filled with faith, hope, and the courage to face whatever may come. And here's something I want to remind you of. You're not walking this journey alone. We are a community, a family united by faith and a shared desire for transformation. When you share your story, your struggles, and your victories, you not only strengthen yourself but also everyone around you. That's one of the most beautiful parts of grace. It shows up in connection, in mutual support, in empathy, and in love. If you're enjoying this message, I warmly invite you to subscribe to the channel so we can keep walking this journey of faith and transformation together. I'd really love to hear what this message is stirring in your heart. Would you take a moment to leave a comment and share what part touched you the most? Tell us about an experience where God's grace changed something difficult in your life. Your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Let's create a space where God's strength, hope, and love can bloom within all of us. Remember, your voice matters. Not just to me, but to the whole community seeking spiritual growth. Share your thoughts, your questions, your discoveries. Every feeling is welcome here with respect and kindness. Together, we can make this journey more meaningful and full of purpose. And don't forget, renewing your mind and heart is essential for grace to keep flowing in your life. When your thoughts align with God's truth, you create fertile ground for peace and divine strength to flourish in your everyday life. Let that transformation begin right now in this moment, and watch how everything around you starts to change for the better. This is the moment when everything starts to come alive within you. When the transformation brought by God's grace stops being just a concept and becomes a tangible reality. The walk of faith is not made with a single step, but with a series of small steps that add up, forming a steady and illuminated path. Every challenge you overcome, every prayer lifted with a sincere heart, every moment you choose to believe in something greater, each one builds the person God created you to be. It's important to understand that true transformation doesn't depend on external circumstances. It comes from the inner attitude you choose to nurture every day. You may be going through a tough time, facing situations that feel impossible, but the strength you need to keep going comes from within, from the grace already present in your life, even if you haven't fully noticed it yet. Faith, hope, and love become strong anchors, holding you steady even when the sea is rough. Think of the great people in the Bible who, despite their limitations and struggles, chose to trust God and were transformed. Maybe you see yourself in their stories, or maybe you have your own powerful story to share. The beauty of the spiritual journey is that it's unique to each of us, yet universal in its lessons. Grace shapes us, renews us, and prepares us to live an abundant life, even in the midst of hardship. Now I invite you to reflect. What does this transformation mean for your daily life? How can you live out this renewal in your thoughts and your actions, in the way you treat yourself and others? Maybe it starts with how you face challenges, the words you speak, or how you care for your mind and body. All of this is part of becoming a new person, not someone who merely survives, but someone who lives with passion, purpose, and joy. This change doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of a conscious decision to surrender to God's will, to trust that He is working in every detail of your life, even when you don't yet see the results. It's an invitation to let go of control and anxiety and make room for the peace that surpasses all understanding. And if you feel like you're still far from that point, know this: every step counts. The journey of faith is made up of small steps, moments of surrender, and constant growth. Don't pressure yourself to be perfect. Just be sincere in your pursuit, open to learning, and willing to grow. God honors that kind of heart and is always ready to renew your strength. Before I finish, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for making it this far. If this message touched your heart and brought light to your path, please subscribe so we can keep walking together. Your presence means a lot to me and to this entire community. And even more, I want to hear from you. Share your story, your struggles, your victories. Tell us what you learned from this message and how it might help others. Here, every story is a lighthouse that can guide someone else through the storm. Let's grow together, strengthening our faith and renewing our hope every single day. The transformation you seek is already in motion. All you need to do is open your heart to receive it. Thank you for being here, for being part of this community, and for allowing God's grace to bloom in your life. Until the next video, full of faith, love, and hope, may God bless you abundantly.